Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Market Insights with Linux, and welcome to this new video. Had to come back and revisit Coinbase. So we're going to do a full update on that right now. I'll focus mostly on the technicals, I suppose. I mean, I haven't really kept up with everything that Coinbase is doing. I mean, last time we checked out Coinbase, which I think was about 2-3 weeks ago, they were doing great. I would assume with the current market circumstances, or at least with the current momentum that we're seeing while I reset my camera real quick, I think they're doing fine still. And technically, they're doing great. So we'll talk about that. I'm a little bit tired, so you might notice that in this video. My apologies for that, but I had pretty intense training today with running. But okay. We're going to do a full update. So the key level that we broke above here technically is the area between 350 and 370. That is historically a well-respected level. That was also the high we made the 8th of November when we actually got the last bull market. After that, pretty severe drop, as you can see. But we recovered. And we recovered very nicely in July as well when Bitcoin was bullish. And right now, Bitcoin is bullish again. And what we have seen historically is that when we see strength, like we saw with Bitcoin last week, which is, I specialize in crypto, right? So I know quite a lot of what's going on right now. But when you see strength like that, usually it continues for some time, right? At least for Bitcoin. I mean, I don't want to say too much about crypto as a whole and altcoins, but at least what you see with Bitcoin is that does happen. And then technically with Coinbase, I mean, getting that breakout right here, we're looking at the weekly time frame, right? So this is absolutely not nothing. What we have done since last Friday, we did that with quite a lot of momentum as well. It's not the same type of momentum that we saw back in May and July. So that could either mean that, potentially Coinbase is a little bit overvalued right now, that there's obviously more and more crypto stocks coming out. So, where you first had MicroStrategy and Coinbase as the crypto beta in terms of stocks. Right now you have much more. You have Circle, that's a major one, but you have more than that, of course. So maybe it lost that a little bit, or it's just starting. And at this point of time, I would have to say it's just starting. I mean, Coinbase volume is very strong, especially if you take a look at the Coinbase Bitcoin volume over the course of the last week. That's great. And then you have this very strong high volume breakouts. If we're taking a look at the price action of the stock itself, when there's strength like this, I always say, don't rely on a pullback. I mean, very often we don't get a pullback. I would say it's quite likely, like Coinbase actually started to rally a little bit later, I would argue, like where Bitcoin was already rallying way past the highs we made the 19th of September. Coinbase got there on Wednesday, and then we were able to break out of that on Thursday, but then it slowed down a bit, right? So I do think that Coinbase, if you compare it to Bitcoin, which is obviously something it's tied to quite heavily, I do think it's relatively weaker, but that also means that we can rally, a bit longer and a bit more aggressively later. But what that also means is that, when Bitcoin inevitably gets a pullback, which always happens, then that is going to pull Coinbase together with it. And then I do think we can fill some of the imbalances we left to the downsides, but dropping down into 350, I wouldn't bank on that, especially not lower. But so that is a possibility here. But ultimately, I think we're going up to the next target right here at 410. 440, and I think we have a good chance to break above that. I mean, very often when you see a structure like this where you have a blow off top right here, then a pretty rapid, pretty aggressive sell-off, consolidation, and then a new uptrend, and we actually are able to get up to that previous high where that whole pattern started. Very often historically we actually break that and we rally higher, and then I would have to check, but I would argue it's probably around 500 or 510 that we'd have to aim for, but that might be a little bit optimistic right now to talk too much about. So those are my thoughts on Coinbase. That's what I think you need to know. Hopefully it helps, but for now, have a great day, everybody. Take care and bye.